Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Incorrect Politics. This week, GOP representative from the 1st District of New York, Zeldin, has announced that he is going to run for a New York State governor. Today, this video is going to focus on analyzing how realistic is his shot at winning the government mansion, and who is Zeldin? Is he a great qualified candidate for this position? So, in order to start to talk about him, we first have to look into his announcement of his campaign. So, Zeldin released a video on his Twitter. It's his Zeldin for Governor video, and I've just watched through the entire thing for you. Basically, the first few minutes, I'll just drag it through pretty quickly. It's all about Cuomo's misconduct, including the misconduct of the nursing home incident and how the state is locked down and how he has been accused of sexually harassing women. And for the latter part of that part is Zeldin's promotion on he's a soldier, family man, and how good he is basically and his vision as a governor. Well, certainly he did provide some insight in his latter half of the video. I would still say that this video is more of a negative attack on Cuomo instead of self-promotion on New York governor. Well, this kind of tactic, is it good or bad? I will going to cover it in my future videos, but you first have to know that this is more of an anti-Cuomo video instead of a pro-Zeldin video. So, Zeldin, according to this article, says that Zeldin is the first prominent Republican to formally declare the race, and this exactly shows you how inconfident a Republican is in terms of running for the New York State governor, because usually when a governor is being under such a serious sexual conduct, usually there will be a lot of challenges, but so far, Zeldin, he's even only a representative. He's not like maybe senator from New York or maybe state senator. He is not one of them. He's just one of the 27 House members that the state of New York has. He decided to run, and it's already a breaking news. So right now you can say that Republican doesn't really have that much of confidence inside the state of New York. But should they be? Well, in order to answer that question, we might have to look at the recent election result in the state of New York's governor mansion. So, in 2006, Eliot Spitzer versus John Faso, a Republican alliance with conservative. Look at how blue this map is. In that time elections, Eliot beat John Faso by more than 38 percentage points, and only 4 districts turned red. But in 2010, a considerable red wave year where Andrew Cuomo won his first term as New York State governor against Kyle Palladino, he still won roughly 63% of the precincts in comparison to 33.5%. That's a down from 38% margin to 30%. But still, the majority of the state still sees blue. And you must know that, in exception with some places like near this place where it's the New York downtown is, a lot of the state is actually rural areas. So basically you can say that GOP has been completely destroyed in the first term of Cuomo in 2006, which is the term before him. Even the rural areas and the suburban areas are not backing GOP at the margin that you can find in elsewhere inside the nation. And in 2014, which is another red wave year, Cuomo won his re-election, but just look at how close it suddenly gets. From a 30 points margin, it comes down to a 14 points margin. And just see, the entire state basically becomes a normalcy. So, except of the rural areas, which it's already red inside 2010, in 2014, the GOP has reclaimed a lot of places which it was previously Democratic, and it becomes in the hand of the GOP. So you can say that 2014 is the time when Cuomo actually did pretty worse in terms of his electoral performance. And what happened? At that time, Cuomo was also accused of some serious misconduct. So it is a similar situation. Last time when Cuomo was being accused of similar serious things, we can see if that was being recorded on this Wikipedia. Well, it doesn't seem to have one, but regardless, you can say that one misconduct allegations has cost Cuomo 15 points. Well, of course, you have to consider that 2014 is also a red wave year, but you can say that Cuomo isn't that undefeatable in terms of electoral preference. And in 2018, which was a Democratic blue wave year, you would expect that, well, 2014 was a red wave year, so Cuomo lost 15 points, right? So in 2018, should he at least go back to 60 points? Well, he did not. In the 2018 gubernatorial election, Andrew Cuomo only won 59.62% of the votes. That's 23-point differences. While it was certainly an improvement from the 15-point victory from 2014 New York gubernatorial election, it was still underperformed. And in fact, if you looked at the map, a lot of the places which were in terms of district-wise, this place, the northern part of New York, it was Democratic. Now it's Republican. And a lot of places went from blue to red as well. It's just not just about this part. So you can say that it starts to show the partisan nature of our country, which you can find everywhere in every single state. So except for several urban areas in New York downtown, the entire state has just gotten redder. And that is one thing. So if Cuomo, his base was in the city, if he could not get support from the city, from the elites, and from the so-called maybe liberal-leaning people, then he cannot win the election. And our polls just greatly reflect that. In a recent poll made by Zeldin, for record, I personally don't really like Zeldin, but here we only have those because no one is really doing this poll because New York was supposed to be in Democratic hands control for too long. But Zeldin has made this little poll saying that AOC has 50% to 42% against Stefanik, and for Cuomo, that's 51% to 39%. Well, first of all, Stefanik isn't even the people we're discussing right now, but Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez, he only lost to Cuomo by a mere 4 points. That shows you that Cuomo himself, he doesn't establish an image like John McCain from Arizona. He's just another ordinary Democratic governor which can be replaced by any generic Democrats if any Democrats wish to primary him and successfully primary him out. So from all these instances, we can see that Cuomo himself, especially since New York has become increasingly progressive in areas like these blue places, but in the red parts, New York were not moving leftward by any means. So Cuomo himself is I'll say he's a moderate to slightly leaning liberal because in the past when there was a lot of COVID-19 breakout, then CNN trying to portray him as an effective leader, and at that time he has to start to talk more like a progressive to win the media's attention and win media's recognition, positive recognition. So Cuomo right now, I wouldn't say he's a complete moderate, but in comparison with Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez, I think that it's safe to say that Cuomo is not so progressive either. Alright, so who exactly is Zeldin? First of all, let's take a look at him. His district is in the 1st district of New York, one of the only districts. Well, New York Republican only holds like 7 or 6 seats, remind me if I'm wrong, but that's one of the few places where Republican still has. So Zeldin, you will expect him to be voting much more liberal than most of the Republicans inside the Congress, and he is. We can see that this is the 15% point. So 50% means that this representative vote with Donald Trump. Well, back in 2018 to 20, that session, back in that time, 50% of the time, you can see that some Republicans were actually down here, but that's because they were only interim representatives. So they usually these 33.3% represents like one voting free, so you really couldn't say anything about that. So from this 50%, you can say that's about at the middle point. Where is Zeldin? We can scroll up. It took us about 2 seconds to find him. Zeldin is right here, 88.8%. You would say that, well, that's quite a lot, right? But it really isn't, because if we keep scrolling up, you can see that there are a lot more congressmen upon him. So we can say that, yes, that's quite a lot, right? I've been scrolling at full speed, and that's how much congressman is above him. So it's safe to say that Zeldin is among the first quarter of the most liberal member inside the House of Representatives. So these kind of people, is he really what the New York State would want it? Well, I'll say that he has a really good shot at getting it if Cuomo's reputation continues to decline, because right now it's just like the California recall election back in 2003 when Gray Davis was recalled by Arnold Schwarzenegger. Right now, Arnold Schwarzenegger is that good guy of Zeldin. Zeldin has supposed to be portray himself as a positive and a people who is educated, but does not make the so-called too conservative claim. So in that case, he will win a lot of crossover support from the liberal and even those, well, not only independent-leaning Democratic, but maybe some Democratic votes who doesn't like Cuomo that much and are willing to consider some fiscal conservative candidates. Because you see that in state of New York, although Cuomo won over 59.62% of the votes, those votes are not all for the Democrat or all for progressive. Some of them just doesn't like Republicans' traditional policies and their traditional values. If there is a fiscally conservative but on the social issues is more like liberal, those kind of Republicans were everywhere inside the New England region. Phil Scott is one of them. Chris Christie is one of them. Chris Sununu is one of them. And Larry Hogan is also one of them. There's already a lot of instance, and I don't see why Zeldin cannot portray himself as one. But there comes a problem. I just told you that in Zeldin's video, he has portrayed himself. Yes, he did, but that's only for like the final 50 seconds. But he spent too much time on attacking Cuomo. In fact, I don't believe that he should be doing this because a lot of people are already helping him attacking Cuomo. So, if Zeldin really wished to win the New York State governor, he will have to start to make himself more well known, and he will have to make himself more positive in terms of image. He doesn't have too many bad tracking record, and there isn't too much bad news or bad rumors about him just right now yet, because, well, to be honest with you, his polling numbers are still lagging behind. There is an attack to people who isn't winning. But Zeldin certainly could still improve, and I certainly believe that if he does all of that, he really has a shot at winning the New York governor's race. That will be all of the video today. If you do like this video, you may like, share, and subscribe, and you can also comment down below. I'm going to sign out. Have a good day.